This is a recording of the 2NR between David and Pranav in finals of TOC. We're going to redo the 2NR and see if we can capture the same amount of perceptual dominance that Pranav had in his 2NR. And so I'm ready whenever you are, Kirk.
Yeah, the order will be the two terms case analysis at the bottom of the AC. The racism disad, economic class disad, NC framework, and case on the AC. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
The only offense that 1AR goes for is case offense, which means that the only out the 2AR has is via case. However, in order for him to access that case offense, he has to get through multiple layers. First is the Medina analysis. Under the racism disad, that we have to have discussions of race before we can have discussions of framework questions. This is completely conceded. The second is the extinction outweighs the arguments, which I'm about to make. And third is framework proper. But best case scenario, he gets through all of those framework arguments. He still has to respond to the two terms case analysis. First is the economic collapse, and second is the racism terms case. I'm able to win either of those arguments independent of the framework debate. I still win the round because I'm able to access more offense under the AC than he is right now. So let's go to those arguments. The first argument is economic collapse. He pays very economic collapse terms your AC. He pays little lip service on this argument, which is going to be damning for him. His only response is that the purpose of economy is to give people a living life. That exactly means I turn the case. A's point is that once people go extinct, then people don't have a living life. But B's point is that once the economy collapses, the economy can't provide people a living life. You should hold the 2AR to his 1AR explanation of what the economy means, which is to give people a living life. Because I do not get a 3NR to respond to his new 3NR to respond to his new 2NR contextualization. Second is that you missed the point on my argument because economic collapse has become a prerequisite because once the economy collapses, then the economy doesn't have a purpose anymore. We should try or die to in order to preserve that purpose that economy has. So even if he contextualizes the purpose economy into some new purpose, I still always come to that prerequisite because I'm the one who's able to preserve that purpose. On the second argument, the racism terms case, extend that argument. Racism as greater form of exclusion because affected by because only black body experience it. They face decades of oppression, which means that they are especially vulnerable to exclusion and the alienation that you talk about. But even if you think that the magnitude of his alienation will outweigh the magnitude of my racism, it's a question of strength of link. Because strength of link determines the strength of impact. I'm asking 100% strength of link on the racism debate. Well, because he doesn't have any offensive or defensive arguments. However, there's at least a risk that minimum wage will solve for his alienation arguments, which means that even if his arguments have a bigger magnitude, the strength of the link differential will mean my arguments will still be sufficient to outweigh. He makes several arguments. First is that racism doesn't deal with the problematic engagement of the AC. However, my argument is that this worst form of alienation because the AC doesn't address racism, while racism is the greatest exclusion that's being experienced. I question what the problematic engagement of the AC is. The second argument is that AC outweighs because no one's respected their alienated, and people have a right as a human to be respected. And this is not unique because racism is the worst form of alienation, and people aren't being respected in the first place, aren't being treated as a human. They're particularly vulnerable to this form of alienation. So let's go to the dissent. You have conceded the Medina analysis, which is going to be damning. It says that we have to discuss questions of race before we can have discussions of framework questions, which means that puts a higher layer on your framework. Even if you are able to win all of your framework arguments, Medina says that racial issues are prerequisite to ethical questions because we have to ensure equal inclusion of the blacks in order to have effective discussion. Because he had to be the one that participated in the discussion as well. You did not say a single word on the Medina's analysis, which means that it's completely conceded. I get 100% straight link on the dissent proper. Extend the Hutchinson evidence that it indicates that blacks are excluded from labor unions because they lack buying power. It's not a historical analysis, rather empirical analysis how wages are. But even if it's a historical analysis, you should still prefer my historical analysis over his analysis. The A's point that he doesn't even have evidence of B's point as history is bound to repeat itself, and C's point is try or die because he accesses no offense. He accesses no offense on the issue. So it's only possible that affirmative creates more racism, doesn't lessen it. The straight link determines straight impact lane doesn't apply here because you have conceded that Medina becomes a prerequisite. So even if I win, I'm able to win a 0.1% increase of you causing racism, you still negate economic collapse. Extend the hero 9 evidence indicates that minority teams are excluded from living wage because they're not going to be hired because they're inexperienced. This causes economic stability and extinction. Extinction outweighs the 80 points of reversibility because poverty is reversible. However, extinction is terminal. It's not even a question of magnitude. The visa point of Boston indicates that we have to be alive in order to have racial discussion, which means that still comes as a prerequisite. NC frame. I'll concede the intuition argument. However, there are several key jumps that you make. First is the sign out Armstrong evidence indicates that if we're morally uncertain, then we should default to USO because we have obligation to make our life better. And you have conceded from the Harker analysis that there is moral uncertainty, so you have to default to sign out Armstrong. But even if you don't buy that analysis, you have conceded the Gooden and the Ross analysis. You can extend the Gooden and Ross analysis. It indicates that governments have an obligation to use utilitarianism. You have conceded the analysis why we should prefer governmental obligation over individual obligation, which means it's simply a question of what the governments do. Good indicates that governments have an obligation to weigh between issues, which means that they ought to use utilitarianism because that's the easiest. That's easiest for them to weigh. Governments don't have things such as agency, or they can't be excluded from discussion because they're part of the discussion, which means that your generic analysis and extension of your generic conclusion arguments doesn't apply. You should prefer my specific analysis and contextualize to the AC over its generic conclusion arguments because they're more applicable to the arguments at hand. So, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so several thoughts. One is I think that the ending was really just not perceptually dominant.
Yeah.
We should never end speeches, especially finals of the TOC, with. So, okay, I think that's it.
Okay.
I think the speech should end with something like. So, as a reminder, you could vote on the Medina analysis, you could vote on the turns case, you could vote on the extinction turns case, or you could vote neg via the framework debate. All of those are independent outlets for me, and the 2AR has to resolve all of them. Or something like that.
Okay.
Some big picture summary, right? Don't ever end speeches with something like, I think I'm done. That's just not very perceptually dominant at all. Second thing is, I think it's clear that the 2NR is fighting sort of an uphill battle on the line by line of the framework debate. Like, you're not really responding to the Daniels analysis. You're not really responding to the Medea card about intuitions failing, but you're still going for the Parfit analysis. So I don't necessarily know if you're going to win the debate on the line by line for the actual NC-AC framework interaction. But as we had discussed earlier, it's good for you to at least go for it for 60 to 90 seconds to force the 2AR to spend time here. Because now the 2AR has to cover it at least a little bit. And there is a chance that he overcovers it, which means that he undercovers the Medina stuff and the turns case stuff. So you force the 2AR to decide how to allocate time, which is a decision most debaters are not very good at. So it's important for you to have that red herring and for you to go for 60 to 90 seconds on the issue that you definitely are probably going to lose, but you still need to put up a little bit of a fight such that the 2AR has to spend some time explaining why you're on the wrong side of the issue still. Does that make sense?
I think I was like way more inefficient than 1AR. I felt like I stumbled like a lot more.
Yeah, you were definitely a little bit more inefficient than the 1AR, but it's going to be an ongoing battle. One thing I definitely am not super happy about is it seems like the discussion we had was that the 1NR did not have any Bostrom or extinction precludes arguments, and that the 2NR was going to construct them.
Oh, really? I thought the 1NR had a Bostrom analysis.
No, because Pranav was very clear to explain in cross-examination, this is not the Bostrom argument, this is a separate argument.
Oh, okay. I thought he was referring to like how he had a Bostrom analysis already. Okay.
I didn't catch it, at least. I'm fairly sure he did not have Bostrom. I think that the 2NR needs to introduce that argument in its entirety as another different layer it can win the debate on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or at least make a more persuasive, like, extinction turns case argument, like life precludes.
Yeah.
So I think it's also worth your time to construct a link from extinction to alienation,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
Ultimately, in a technical sense, you're on the wrong side of this debate because the way that alienation impacts work are via intentions or means-based arguments, not ends-based consequences. And we're using an ends-based consequence, i.e. extinction, to construct our link into alienation, right? But it still is a 20-second argument you make in the 2NR that stupid judges like me will be very persuaded by, because we're like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Like, if everyone's dead, they're alienated, right? And it takes the 2AR a little bit of time to explain how that type of offense doesn't link into the framework. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. In terms of perceptual dominance, I asked you to write out a list of things
Yeah, I
that
did.
Pranav said were perceptually dominant. So let's hear that list.
Yeah. First is here's what you know that app causes extinction. So it tells like the judge like, okay, so this is a scenario, and like because of this, you need to like evaluate this. I guess. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. And then
Wait, so let's slow down. So one thing Pranav used was, here's what you know, the app causes extinction. So what that's doing is that's setting the table for the judge in terms of their mind when they're deciding how to vote, right?
Yeah.
He's basically telling them a story. He's like, look, you have two choices. You either vote for him or you vote for me. Here's what you know when you vote for him. Everyone dies, right? And so already perceptually it's like, wow, I probably don't want to live in that world.
Yeah.
Cool. What's the next one?
There's only one place that affirmative has offense, which is sort of similar to my overview.
Yeah.
Like Pranav did it separately. Like he started on the line by line, then went on the overview. I started on the overview, but like that's what Pranav did, and his statement that there's only one place that affirmative has offense clears up to the judge like what the affirmative does and has to do in order to win.
Yeah, I think that was the most perceptually dominant thing he did in the 2NR. It was also what we talk about when we talk about big picture debate. That's what we mean by crystallization. Explaining to the judge in terms of this logic of the chess game that debate is, how the chess pieces have been moved, and what options are left for your opponent to win.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you give 2NRs, your 2NR should explain the 2AR has to go for two or three. The 2AR has two ways it can win the debate, either this or this. And both of these ways rely on these separate things. So if I'm winning any of these following things, the 2AR has no way to win the round, right?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that in general, you should refer to it in terms of speeches. So like the way you did it right here, like the 1AR left itself only case offense, which means that the 2AR has to win the framework debate in order to win the round. There are three separate layers it needs to fight through to access framework. One is the Medina analysis, two is the extinction turns case arguments, which I'm about to make, and three is the actual NCAC proper framework debate, which is going to occur later on in this speech. But additionally, even if he fights through all of those three arguments, the two turns case arguments are like fail safes for me because he's mishandling those, which means that even if he accesses his framework debate, he's going to lose.
Sure.
Right? That doesn't take it, like the way you did it was excellent. It was really, really strong at the beginning of the 2NR, and it took you 30 seconds, and it set the big picture debate in terms of how the round is broken down.
Yeah.
Cool. What's next?
Let me just okay. You can just vote there because it's the easiest place to vote. So like tells the judge like, okay, so there's lots of other clash on these issues, but there's like a conceded argument there. So it's really easy to like pull the trigger there.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree. What's next?
So we will do the framework debate on the negative. Like this might not like strike you as persuasive, but like it hides Pranav's lack of framework skills really well because it shows that he's still able to engage the framework. Like he knows that he doesn't want to engage the framework on the AC because he probably doesn't know what the AC framework is saying. Neither like do I, right? So he's like, okay, we'll do the framework debate on the negative, which like avoids the affirmative extensions and also like allows him to debate on the ground he knows best.
Exactly. Good. That's a really good that's really good find.
Yeah. Gut check for the negative. I was unsure what the context of this was.
He was making the gut check argument on you don't understand the line by line of the app because it was read super fast.
Yeah,
so
sure.
gut check neg here.
Yeah.
I've found that judges very rarely gut check,
Sure.
but it's a good perceptual phrase to give yourself a little bit of dominance.
And then the last thing I found was prefer specific analysis to generic analysis. I think that was really powerful. It's like telling the judge, hey, like all these extensions are like generic conclusion arguments, but I'm like contextualizing the good analysis into how the framework functions. Like governments don't have moral agency, or governments can't be alienated, like arguments like that.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Cool. So let's set aside this debate and let's go to a different one.